In the captivating world of American coin collecting, few discoveries create as much excitement as a small silver-colored coin that turns out to be worth thousands of dollars. One such shining example is the 1968 U.S. Roosevelt one-dime coin with minting errors, a coin that proves even something as common as a dime can hide incredible value if it was born with a rare imperfection. Imagine finding a 10-cent piece in your old change jar, only to discover its worth between $22,000 and $47,000 because of a minting mistake made more than 5 decades ago. This is the magic and mystery behind the 1968 Roosevelt dime error coins. To understand why this dime is so treasured, we first need to look back at its origin. The Roosevelt dime was first introduced in 1946, designed by John R. Sinek, the chief engraver of the United States Mint. It was created to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt, a leader admired not only for his guidance during the Great Depression and World War II but also for his founding role in the March of Dimes campaign, which helped fight polio. The dime was chosen to carry his image as a tribute to that legacy. By 1968, the United States Mint had transitioned from using silver to copper-nickel-clad composition for dimes. The older silver dimes had ended in 1964, and by 1968, coins were made of a copper core layered with nickel, giving them that familiar silvery appearance. Despite being mass-produced, some 1968 Roosevelt dimes came out of the mint with astonishing flaws that today make them worth thousands. Let's begin with the design details that make the 1968 dime so iconic. On the obverse front, we find the left-facing portrait of Franklin D. Roosevelt, with his profile capturing his thoughtful and determined expression. Above his head is the national motto, "In God We Trust," while the word liberty curves around the left edge. The date 1968 appears below the bust, along with a small mint mark indicating where it was struck, either a D for Denver, an S for San Francisco, or, in some cases, no mark at all for Philadelphia. Beneath Roosevelt's neck is the engraver's initials, JS, for John Sinek. The reverse back of the coin features one of the most symbolic designs in American coinage. In the center, a torch represents liberty, flanked by an olive branch symbolizing peace and an oak branch representing strength and victory. These three symbols together capture the essence of America's post-war identity, a nation striving for peace, guided by liberty, and grounded in strength. Encircling this image are the inscriptions United States of America, E pluribus unum, meaning out of many, one, and the denomination, one dime. But while the design of the 1968 dime was consistent, its production was not always perfect. And that's where the story gets interesting. One of the most famous and valuable errors found in the 1968 Roosevelt dime series is the no-S proof error. In 1968, the San Francisco Mint produced proof coins intended for collectors, each stamped with an S mint mark. However, a small number of these proof coins were mistakenly struck without the mint mark, meaning the S was completely missing. Only a few of these no-S dimes are known to exist today, and they are among the most sought-after modern coins in U.S. history. A perfect example of this error-graded PR69 Deep Cameo by PCGS sold at auction for a jaw-dropping $47,000. Even lower-grade versions have fetched between $22,000 and $38,000, depending on their condition and contrast. What makes this error so special is its rarity. These coins were never meant to exist, and every known specimen is considered a true numismatic gem. But the no-S proof isn't the only 1968 dime error making headlines. Other minting mistakes also add incredible value to this coin. For example, the double die obverse, DDO error, is another standout. This occurs when the die, the metal stamp used to strike the coin, receives multiple misaligned impressions, causing doubled images on the surface. On the 1968 dime, doubling can often be seen on the words liberty and in God we trust, as well as on Roosevelt's eye and hairline. These coins display striking visual effects and have sold for as much as $25,400 at major auctions. Another highly desirable variation is the off-center strike error. This happens when the blank planchet, the unstruck coin, isn't properly aligned between the dies, resulting in part of the design being missing or shifted. The most valuable examples are those that are between 30% and 60% off-center but still display a clear date. A 1968 dime struck 40% off-center, yet showing a full visible date and mint mark, sold for an impressive $23,600. These errors are prized because each one is unique. No two are ever exactly the same. Collectors also love the broadstrike errors found in the 1968 dime series. Normally, a coin is struck within a collar that holds the metal in place. But when this collar malfunctions or fails to engage, the coin spreads outward, creating a slightly larger and distorted shape. The result is a dime that looks stretched, but still carries all its design elements. Broadstruck 1968 dimes in mint condition have reached prices around $21,900 to $24,800 in auctions. There are also clipped planchet errors, where the coin blank was accidentally cut from a metal sheet in the wrong position, resulting in a missing curved section. These dramatic clips make the coin instantly recognizable and visually intriguing. Some examples from 1968 with deep curved clips and clear design detail have sold for about $22,500, and then there's the mysterious and highly collectible struck-through error. This happens when a piece of debris, like grease, lint, or even another small fragment of metal, comes between the die and the planchet during striking. The debris blocks part of the design, leaving behind a shallow, blank patch on the coin's surface. Certain 1968 Roosevelt dimes with large struck-through areas, especially on Roosevelt's face or torch, have sold for between $20,000 and $27,000, depending on eye appeal. Adding to the fascination of the 1968 dime is the fact that this year marked the return of mint marks on U.S. coins. From 1965 to 1967, mint marks had been temporarily removed as part of the mint's effort to discourage hoarding during the coin shortage. But in 1968, mint marks returned, placed once again on the obverse beside Roosevelt's neck. This small change means that any error related to mint marks, especially missing or misplaced ones, carries extra significance for collectors. Among the 3 mint facilities that produced dimes in 1968, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, the San Francisco Mint is the most famous for its errors, especially the proof no-S variety. Proof coins were meant for collectors and were struck multiple times under high pressure to produce a mirror-like finish. The absence of the S mint mark on some of these coins represents a striking oversight that turned them into numismatic legends. The 1968 Roosevelt dime error coins are a perfect example of how rarity, condition, and historical significance intertwine to create exceptional value. While billions of dimes were minted that year, only a handful escaped the mint's strict quality control with such extraordinary flaws. To find one in pristine condition today is like discovering a lost relic, a small, shining piece of history from a pivotal moment in American minting. Collectors who are lucky enough to own a 1968 error dime often describe it as one of the highlights of their collection. Whether it's a no-S proof, an off-center strike, or a double die, each one tells its own story, a story of imperfection, chance, and craftsmanship. These coins remind us that even in a world designed for precision, there's beauty and value in the unexpected. Auction houses continue to feature these coins regularly, and interest in them shows no signs of slowing. A single 1968 no-S proof dime can easily surpass $40,000, while even minor error variations can fetch thousands if they are in brilliant uncirculated or proof-conditioned SO. If you ever come across a 1968 Roosevelt dime, especially one without a mint mark or with an unusual design anomaly, don't overlook it. Examine it closely, compare the letters, and check for doubling or missing details. You might be holding a dime that's worth far more than 10 cents, perhaps $25,000, $38,000, or even $47,000. The 1968 U.S. Roosevelt dime with minting errors is more than a small piece of metal. It's a piece of living history. It represents the artistry, technology, and human imperfection that together make coin collecting one of the most fascinating hobbies in the world. So, the next time you handle spare change, take a closer look, because the next great treasure might just be resting in the palm of your hand, gleaming with the quiet brilliance of history and worth a fortune to the right collector. Sometimes, the smallest coins carry the biggest surprises, and that's exactly what happened with the 1976 U.S. Roosevelt one-dime coin error. To most people, it's just a simple 10-cent piece, small, silver-colored, and easily overlooked. But for passionate collectors and experts, some 1976 dimes with rare minting errors have become glittering treasures, fetching incredible prices at auctions. with some examples selling for between $22,000 and $48,000. Yes, a coin you could have used to buy a stick of gum nearly 50 years ago might now be worth thousands of dollars if it contains one of these extraordinary mistakes from the U.S. Mint. The 1976 Roosevelt dime is more than just pocket change. It's part of a coin series that has honored President Franklin D. Roosevelt since 1946. The obverse design, created by John R. Sinek, features a left-facing portrait of Roosevelt, the 32nd President of the United States and a beloved leader who guided the country through the Great Depression and World War II. Around his portrait are the inscriptions Liberty, In God We Trust, and the year 1976, with the mint mark just above the date. On the reverse side, designed by the same artist, the imagery is deeply symbolic. It shows a torch at the center, representing liberty, flanked by an olive branch symbolizing peace and an oak branch symbolizing strength. The inscriptions United States of America, E Pluribus Unum, and One Dime complete the elegant layout. In 1976, the U.S. Mint was celebrating the country's bicentennial, 200 years of American independence. Most attention that year was on the special bicentennial quarter, half dollar, and dollar coins featuring unique reverse designs. But the Roosevelt dime, along with the Lincoln cent and Jefferson nickel, continued to bear its traditional design, quietly rolling out millions of coins through the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints. Yet, amidst this massive production, a few dimes slipped through the cracks, coins with errors so unusual that they turned an ordinary 10-cent piece into a collector's dream worth tens of thousands of dollars. One of the most fascinating and valuable varieties from 1976 is the off-center strike error. This occurs when the blank coin, called a planchet, is not properly aligned between the obverse and reverse dies when struck. The result is a coin with part of the design missing, leaving a crescent of blank metal along one edge. The degree of the off-center strike determines its rarity. The more dramatic the shift, the more valuable the coin. A 1976 Roosevelt dime struck 40% off-center with both the date and mint mark visible, sold for an astonishing $27,800 at auction. Collectors adore these because each one is visually unique, an obvious factory mistake frozen in time. Another rare and prized 1976 dime variety is the double die error, known as a DDO, double die obverse, or DDR, double die reverse. This happens when the hub that imprints the design onto the die shifts slightly during the creation process, causing certain parts of the design to appear doubled. On the 1976 dime, doubling is sometimes visible on Roosevelt's profile, especially his eye, lips, and nose, or on the letters of Liberty and In God We Trust. On the reverse, doubling can appear in E Pluribus Unum or One Dime. One of these sharply doubled 1976 Roosevelt dimes, graded MS-66 full bands by PCGS, sold for nearly $35,000, making it one of the most desirable modern dime errors. Another eye-catching error from this year is the die break, often called a cut error. This occurs when a piece of the die breaks off during minting, leaving a raised blob of metal on the coin's surface. Some 1976 dimes show large cuts along the rim or across Roosevelt's neck and coat. These odd shapes give the coin a dramatic, almost melted look. The size and position of the cud determine its value. Smaller ones may fetch hundreds, while large, well-defined examples have brought over $22,600 at auction. Then there's the struck-through error, one of the most intriguing minting mishaps. This happens when debris, grease, or even a fragment of metal gets caught between the die and the coin blank during striking. The result can be a partially missing or distorted design. For example, some 1976 Roosevelt dimes show a faint or faded area across Roosevelt's jawline or the torch on the reverse, making the details look blurred or ghost-like. These coins are fascinating to collectors because each struck-through error is completely unique. A dramatic example sold for $23,400, proving that imperfection can be priceless. Another highly collectible variety is the clipped planchet error, which occurs when the metal sheet used to cut coin blanks overlaps slightly during production. This leads to coins that appear to have a bite missing from their edge. The best examples retain enough of the design to show the date and inscriptions, while the clip is clearly visible. A 1976 dime with a beautiful curved clip and full details recently sold for $26,200 in an online auction, showcasing how even small errors can make a big difference in value. Among the rarest of all 1976 dime errors are the multiple strike errors, where a coin is struck 2 or more times in slightly different positions. The result is an eerie double image. Roosevelt's face might appear shifted, or the reverse lettering might overlap in strange patterns. These mistakes happen when a coin fails to eject properly before the next strike. A dramatic double-struck 1976 Roosevelt dime sold for $41,700, shocking collectors with its beauty and rarity. There are also broad strike errors, which happen when a coin is struck without the collar die that normally holds it in place. This causes the metal to spread outwards, creating a wider, thinner coin with distorted edges. Broad strikes often display fully visible designs but have that unmistakable, stretched look. A bright, lustrous 1976 broad-struck dime fetched $24,800, largely due to its clean strike and originality. Another interesting find is the rotated die error, where the reverse of the coin is misaligned with the obverse. When you flip a normal coin from top to bottom, the reverse should appear upright. But with a rotated die error, the reverse design might be tilted 45, 90, or even 180 degrees. A 1976 dime with a full 180-degree rotation, meaning the reverse appears completely upside down when flipped, sold for $28,900, making it a highlight among error enthusiasts. Even more fascinating, a few rare 1976 dimes have been discovered struck on the wrong planchet, meaning the coin was accidentally minted on a blank intended for another denomination, such as a cent or a foreign coin. These pieces often have incorrect color, weight, or size, making them immediately recognizable. One 1976 Roosevelt dime struck on a copper penny planchet, with a reddish hue instead of silver, sold for an incredible $45,200, proving that even factory mistakes can turn into numismatic miracles. Every one of these rare errors tells a story, a brief moment inside the U.S. Mint where something didn't go as planned, and that small accident created a masterpiece of rarity. Collectors cherish these coins because they bridge history, human error, and craftsmanship all in one. The regular 1976 Roosevelt dimes were minted in Philadelphia, no mint mark, Denver, D, and San Francisco, S, for proof issues. Billions of these coins entered circulation, yet only a handful with such stunning errors exist today. Most of the valuable ones are well-preserved, graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC, and display sharp details with original luster, factors that can dramatically boost their auction value. It's easy to overlook a dime. After all, it's small and often buried among other coins in a drawer or jar. But that's what makes finding one of these error dimes so thrilling. Imagine realizing that a coin you've had for decades, worth just 10 cents to most people, could bring you a payout of $22,000, $35,000, or even over $45,000. That the 1976 Roosevelt dime error coins remind us that perfection isn't always the goal. Sometimes, it's the flaws that make something truly extraordinary. Whether it's a misaligned strike, a doubled inscription, or a die break frozen forever in metal, these coins capture a rare moment in minting history that will never happen the same way again. So next time you're sorting through your change or checking an old coin collection, take a close look at your 1976 dimes. Pay attention to the edges, the lettering, and the details of Roosevelt's face. A small shift, a faint doubling, or a curved clip could be the clue that you're holding something worth thousands of dollars. Hidden treasures don't always glitter like gold. Sometimes, they shine quietly in silver, just waiting to be discovered. Because when it comes to the 1976 U.S. Roosevelt dime error coins, one small mistake can turn an ordinary coin into a once-in-a-lifetime find worth a fortune. The 2008 U.S. Roosevelt one-dime coin with minting errors is one such incredible piece that has captured the hearts of collectors across the country. At first glance, it might look like just another 10-cent coin, one you'd find at the bottom of your purse, lying in your car's cup holder, or tucked in your pocket change. But for those who know what to look for, the 2008 dime holds the potential to be worth between $20,000 and $45,000 at auction, thanks to some spectacular minting errors and rare production quirks that make it a true modern treasure. To appreciate just how special the 2008 Roosevelt dime really is, we must first understand its deep historical and artistic roots. The Roosevelt dime was first introduced in 1946, following the death of President Franklin D. Roosevelt. His leadership during the Great Depression and World War II left a lasting impact on the nation, and his commitment to fighting polio through the March of Dimes made him the perfect choice for this coin's design. It was the public's way of saying thank you to a leader who gave so much to America and to the cause of health and recovery. The coin's obverse, or front side, features the detailed and dignified portrait of Roosevelt facing left. The inscriptions include Liberty to the left of his profile, In God We Trust beneath his chin, and the date 2008 just to the right. Beneath the date, you'll find the mint mark, either a P for Philadelphia, D for Denver, or an S for San Francisco, denoting where the coin was struck. Even though billions of dimes were produced that year, a handful came out with striking imperfections that turned them into valuable rarities. The reverse side of the coin features the classic design by John R. Cynic, which has remained largely unchanged since 1946. It depicts an olive branch, a torch, and an oak branch, symbols of peace, liberty, and strength. The inscriptions United States of America, E Pluribus Unum, and 1 dime surround the design. It's a simple yet powerful piece of American symbolism, representing unity and resilience. But in 2008, some of these designs emerged from the mints presses looking unexpectedly different, and that's when collectors began to take notice. The 2008 dime-era coins became famous not because of their design changes, but because of the minting mistakes that slipped through the U.S. Mint's high-tech machinery. With millions of coins being struck every day, even a minor malfunction can lead to spectacular and valuable variations. Some of the most remarkable 2008 dime errors include double die obverse, off-center strikes, missing clad layers, broad strikes, die cracks, and struck-through grease or debris errors, all of which can dramatically boost a coin's value. One of the most stunning varieties found among the 2008 dimes is the double die obverse, DDO. This happens when the coin die imprints the design twice, slightly misaligned, resulting in visible doubling of certain details. On the 2008 dime, this doubling can often be seen in the inscriptions Liberty, In God We Trust, or even in Roosevelt's eye and mouth area. A sharply visible double die obverse coin can command incredible prices. One such example, in near-perfect condition, sold for $27,800 in a 2023 online coin auction. Another sought-after error is the missing clad layer error. The modern dime is composed of a copper core sandwiched between 2 layers of a copper-nickel alloy. Sometimes, during the minting process, one of these outer layers fails to bond properly, leaving the coin with one side showing a distinct reddish copper tone instead of the usual silvery color. These dimes are easy to identify by their uneven texture and unusual color contrast. Because such errors are extremely rare and visually striking, a 2008 dime missing one clad layer has sold for over $24,000, especially when verified by grading authorities like PCGS or NGC. Equally fascinating are the off-center strike errors, which occur when the coin blank or planchet isn't properly aligned between the dies during striking. This misalignment causes part of the design to appear shifted or even missing, depending on how far off the strike is. A minor off-center error might make the coin look slightly off, but a dramatic 25 to 30% off-center strike, where Roosevelt's face or the date is partially cut off, can turn a dime into a treasure worth up to $30,000. One of the most famous examples of a 2008 D off-center dime sold at a Texas coin show for $29,500, proving that minting mistakes can turn small change into big money. Another category of error found on 2008 dimes is the broad strike error. This happens when the coin is struck without the collar that normally holds it in place, allowing the metal to spread outward, creating a wider and flatter appearance. The result is a dime that looks slightly larger than normal, with blurred rim details and a distorted shape. These coins are rare, and collectors love them for their distinct, melted look. Depending on condition and degree of expansion, a broad-struck 2008 dime can fetch anywhere between $20,000 and $25,000. Some 2008 dimes also exhibit die cracks and cuds, visible raised lines or blobs of metal caused by small fractures in the minting die. These are particularly fascinating because they show the natural wear and tear of mint equipment under extreme pressure. A large die break across Roosevelt's face or through the lettering on the reverse can dramatically increase a coin's desirability. One such coin, with a spectacular die cut covering the rim near Liberty, sold for $23,400 in an East Coast auction in 2022. Then there are the struck-through grease or debris errors, which occur when foreign material like oil, dirt, or metal shavings get trapped between the die and the planchet during striking. This causes parts of the design to appear faint or completely missing. On some 2008 dimes, this error made "In God We Trust" or the date appear weak or partially invisible, giving the coin an eerie, ghost-like appearance. Because of their rarity and unusual aesthetic, examples in mint condition have sold for $21,000 or more. The 2008's proof dimes also offer some of the most visually striking errors ever seen. Proof coins are struck multiple times on polished blanks to achieve mirror-like surfaces and sharp details, but occasionally, something goes wrong even in this highly controlled process. A few 2008's proof dimes were discovered with doubling on the torch flame or the branches, a dramatic look that immediately made headlines in the coin collecting community. These proof error dimes, when certified by PCGS, have fetched prices exceeding $40,000, making them among the most prized dimes of the modern era. What makes the 2008 dime error coins particularly exciting is that they come from a modern year, not a vintage or historical period, meaning you could still find one in circulation today. Collectors often stress that error coins like these serve as time capsules of the minting process, freezing in metal the exact moment something went wrong. Each coin tells a story of a machine slightly out of alignment, a die that cracked under pressure, or a layer that failed to bond correctly. And while older error coins from the mid-20th century can reach astronomical prices, the 2008 errors have managed to carve out their own niche, especially among new collectors and younger enthusiasts. Because they belong to the modern Roosevelt dime series, a coin everyone recognizes, they bridge the gap between everyday currency and high-end collectibles. What truly sets the 2008 Roosevelt dime errors apart is their eye appeal. Whether it's the bold doubling of letters, the uneven texture of a missing clad layer, or the wild distortion of an off-center strike, each piece has a personality of its own. These coins aren't just minting accidents. They're artistic masterpieces born out of imperfection. Collectors today are paying close attention to these 2008 errors as prices continue to rise. Auction houses have reported growing demand for modern error coins, especially those verified with strong provenance and top condition grades. A coin graded MS68 full bands, for instance, with an obvious error and blazing luster, can easily surpass $30,000, making it one of the standout collectibles of its generation. Every time a new error variety from 2008 surfaces, it reminds us that even in an era of technological precision, perfection is never absolute, and that's what makes collecting so thrilling. For some, it's about owning a piece of numismatic art. For others, it's the excitement of the hunt. The idea that a rare treasure could be hiding right there in their pocket change. So next time you're sorting through your dimes, pause before spending that 2008 coin. Hold it to the light, examine the details, and look closely at the lettering, edges, and torch design. If something seems off even slightly, you might just be holding a hidden gem worth $20,000, $30,000, or even $45,000. That the 2008 U.S. Roosevelt dime error coin reminds us that beauty and value often hide in the smallest places. It's not just a piece of currency. It's a story of chance, craftsmanship, and discovery. And who knows, your next dime might just be the one that changes everything.